best-selling book of all times, which I always find like this book is unique, and it's a book that I feel like it's admirable, because the wisdom contained in this book is the wisdom you can never find in all authors. It's the Holy Bible. So the whole Bible, I like the book of Proverbs and Ecclesiastes. These books actually shape wisdom. These books actually try to pick Solomon's concept and bring them into reality. The book of Proverbs actually can transform an idiotic mindset to a sane one. The Holy Bible, when you're reading it also, is a book that you will not read like these other books that you will read and understand. Believers in Christianity, where I also belong, though I disagree with some other concepts in Christianity faith, but I'm a Christian. It's a book that you need to read when you're guided by the Spirit. I can read this book when I'm not guided by the Spirit. I will just read, like, add figures, and I will get the exact meaning of the author. But when you're reading the Bible, it's like you need to really understand. You need the Spirit. The believers in faith and Christ say, like, you need to even first pray when you're going to read the Bible, so that the Spirit can guide you to pick wisdom and interpret those scriptures and apply them in your own life and be the best you can ever be. So my best recommendation in the Bible is that the book of Proverbs and Ecclesiastes. I don't know other books very well, but I think I've taken time to read about Ecclesiastes and the book of Proverbs. The book of Proverbs is my favorite, followed by Ecclesiastes. There are other good content embedded within here, so you can read what you feel like. You can go to Matthew, you can go to Mark. But I've told you, if you really want to transform your mindset, if you want to sharpen your behavior, you need to read the Bible. You'll understand how to behave, what makes a person wise. Because according to the Bible, the wisdom of the world is actually the stupidity. But the wisdom of God, understanding the concepts of doing things in a godly way, shapes your thinking to the best of your capacity. But the wisdom of the world actually creates a lot of controversies. And actually, the funny thing is that people who don't believe in the Bible and the concept of God, they are the most depressed people in the whole world. Like, they always have issues to deal with. But people who actually decide to believe in God, they find their lives somehow perfect, because every time they are stressed, they know someone they can run to. I'm not saying like all of those who don't believe in God are having the worst lives. I don't know what they believe in, but if they believe in something that really works for them, well and good. But what I can say is that the book of Proverbs and the book of Ecclesiastes is going to expose you to the knowledge of God and to understand things in a higher, different level of perspective. So at number 2, we have Power versus Force. Power versus Force is a book by David R. Hawkins. David R. Hawkins was a psychologist. He wrote about power, and he was trying to explain the concept of power is that when you're so powerful, you don't need to use force. And that's the favorite quote about the book, which is on the screen, that I really like about this book. I find it fascinating, and it explains how human relations and human behavior is shaped by 2 principles. You're either going to do things using your own power, or you're going to do things using force. Usually when you use force, things don't always end well, but when you use power and when you understand the laws that really govern how to influence people using power, things always work in your own way without having to force them. Three is called Gifted Hands. I had a soft copy here, but I think one of my friends borrowed a book, and I'm just left with this, Take the Risk. So about Gifted Hands is a book that really tries to capture the story of Ben Carson. In fact, Gifted Hands is the story of Professor Ben Carson. So those who really follow a lot of American politics, you must be knowing Professor Ben Carson. Professor Ben Carson, I think in the last regime of Donald Trump, he was the statesman for something related to housing and finance, or something related to that. I don't follow American politics that much. So the book tries to explain how humans have the same brain. Like, we are all having the same brain, same size, same neurons. But how does this brain come up to solve problems, and how comes that some people are more intelligent than others? According to Ben Carson, he tried to explain the concept of training our minds to think, training our minds to solve problems. And when I was taking a course on Coursera called Medical Neuroscience, I got to notice that it is never about the bigger the head. It is about how you use that brain. Like, the more you use your brain, the more you task your brain to solve problems, the more it becomes more sharp, the more it becomes more intelligent, and the more people start to look at you as this person who is more intelligent. It's because you have solved many problems that they themselves have not solved. That's why when you look at people who are somehow old, maybe those who are in their 60s, they seem intelligent. It's because along the way in life, they have tried to use their brain to solve a lot of problems. Ben Carson also tried to explain a concept in that book of how we can use our challenges in life to improve our circumstances. For example, in that book, he was trying to show how her mother, a single mother, tried to raise Ben Carson and his brother called Curtis to people who are now significant in the whole world and who have created impact. So he was trying to relate, like, people should not be limited by their circumstances and all that. And my favorite quote and my favorite line in that book, which I always use so much, is on the screen. You can read. Okay. So at number 4, we have a book by Dale Carnegie. It's called How to Win Friends and Influence People. The true fact is that you cannot live in isolation in this life. Those who follow South African concepts of Ubuntu, which means togetherness, is that you can be able to exert more impact on people if you know the principles that really govern them, if you're so social. For example, if you're going, there is no industry you're going to work in this world without being able to relate with people. And if you have more social capital, you can always solve problems without even having to invest in money. But if you're this person who is a loner and you don't want to interact with people, you are going to find life so difficult. You're going to have a very poor social life. You're going to find that even the things you could solve through other people, you need money to do them. So Dale Carnegie, in that book, he was trying to explain the concept of winning friends. And to win friends, he was trying to explain how you don't need to be this person who criticizes everything. You need to be this person who is open-minded. You need to be tolerant. You need to see people's perspective and say, okay, you have said it, I don't agree with it, but I'm just going to respect you. At the end of the day, you will find that because of your tolerance, there are very many people you have influence on. And there are very many people whom you can control, or people who can do things for you without having to apply in so much pressure. Things will always get going. There's also a neuroscience concept which says that if a child can solve a math problem and can pass all the exams, but that child cannot relate well with people, it means that that child's intelligence and ability to solve math problems is almost worthless. So you should check out that book of How to Influence and How to Win Friends. It will make you know which friends are good for you, and it will make you know, even if some friends are not good for you, how can you have influence over them without them exerting so much influence on your life and without them controlling you. It's a very good book. That book is, I don't have a soft copy, I don't have a hard copy of it. I have a soft copy. It's called Art of War. That book is one of the books that I've read and that have many pages. So when you're going to read this book, you really need to take time and read it page by page. It's by Sun Tzu. It's called Art of War. Sun Tzu was a general in China, and he tries to explain how to fight your wars. In this life, you can never have it all. You can never live without enemies. You can never live in harmony with all people. So you need to know how you will fight your wars, which wars are worth fighting and which wars shouldn't you engage in. When should you attack your enemy and when should you not attack the enemy? So if you're reading this book, just like I say, like when you're reading these books, you need to leave the humanitarian part of it. There are concepts you will read about this book that when you try to apply them in a robotic way, they may not work for you. For example, Sun Tzu says that when you want to fight a war, you must first wait for your enemy to make a mistake. Use a mistake against your enemy. So you may think your enemy is making a mistake, but your enemy is actually trying to entice you to think he's making a mistake. So when you try to attack, you know, okay, this is how the person behaves. So you see to be against you. It also says that wars are based on deception. Deception means lie. It means that if a person expects you to be here today, in a war, if you're going to use Sun Tzu's principles, you should not be there. They should be expecting you far when you're close, and they should be expecting you close when you're far. You need to know when to be far and when to be close. You may think you're so close, yet you're so far. So when you read the whole book, you get the concept and you will appreciate it very well. It will help you in your own life if you apply it in the right way. We have 48 Laws of Power by Green. 48 Laws of Power is a book which I feel like it's self-explanatory. The true concept of power is like is about knowing your worth. Politicians use these books to influence many people, but I just believe, like, as a young person who is really passionate about reading, you need to read these books to guide your behavior. For example, there is a law which says, like, never outshine your master. It could be your lecturer. When you outshine your master, everything will end bizarre. Like, things will not go your own way. So in as much as, like, you're trying to do everything to praise your master, you should never outshine your master. That's my best law actually in that book. And I have Rich Dad, Poor Dad. The true fact is that there are two things that really govern life. One is emotions, another one is economics. Is that if you don't have money, or if you cannot govern well your economics, you're going to live a very miserable life when you're on this earth. So Rich Dad, Poor Dad is the best-selling book for anyone who doesn't know much about money, how money works, and how to improve your net worth. So this book introduces young people to the concepts of money. You need to know how to govern your money, how to spend, and which one not to spend to. It also teaches people who are transiting into the workforce what should you work for, because Robert Kiyosaki was trying to explain that when you're working for someone, don't condition your mind to work for money, because once you work for money, you will not benefit from the training, you will not get the lessons that you really need to go and establish your own enterprise. So they will keep paying you today, keep paying you next year, they may even pay you up to your 50 years. But if you say, I'm working in this company to get skills and go establish my own empire, your focus will be on the training. That's why the Poor Dad, for him, he used this young boy and he was not paying him, because he says, if I start paying you, I'm not going to teach you, but if you allow me not to pay you or pay you small money, because at first time he paid him small money, then later he says, no, I'm not going to pay you, I'm just going to give you lessons. So at the end of the day, he taught the child, Robert Kiyosaki, the lessons which the day Robert Kiyosaki was able to learn that his poor dad actually was poor because he believed that anything can be achieved through education. Like when you go to school, learn, get a degree, get a PhD, you will get financial relief. That's not how it was. But he's rich dad because he was an investor. He learned how the concept of money works, and he was able to know the dynamics involved into the concepts of money. So if you are a person who really wants to know much about money, how money works, you need to read this book if you're starting. Then at number 8, I have a book called The Intelligent Investor. This book, if you're going to read this book, you need to know much economics. You need to know taxation. You need to know some rules that really govern economics. This book was written by Warren Buffett. We all know Warren Buffett right now. He's a popular guy. He's one of the people who are governing the world in economics. He has a lot of money. So he was trying to show us, like, how do the rich manage to keep us poor? And how do the rich are able to gain wealth? Because there are two things. You can accumulate wealth and, let's say, have a lot of money. But the concept of gaining wealth is actually simpler than the concept of keeping wealth. So in The Intelligent Investor, he was trying to show us, like, why you need to keep switching your economic portfolios to suit your wealth, and how to remain with money, and how to keep relevant with your wealth. Otherwise, you will find that along the way, money keeps depreciating. So if you are not an intelligent investor, you're going to lose a lot of money. You're going to find your empire collapsing. That's why people be like, this person was rich when we were very young, but as we grew older, he no longer has money. It means that maybe his investment portfolios were not best, so he invested in something which could not bring out the best out of the best out of what he was investing in. So at the end of the day, he was gaining less, yet he was spending more. So The Intelligent Investor, you should check it out. For me, by my dad, It's here. It's called Where There Is No Doctor. Where There Is No Doctor is a book which was written by David Weiner. David Weiner used to live in a farm where there are no doctors. So he developed concepts in a local way that could solve problems. So this book is actually created by village healthcare people. The truth is that we always tend to believe like you will always get Western medicine, you always get pharmaceutical companies to produce drugs for you. But in principle, most especially in Africa, we have the things that we can do which can help us to maneuver around our health. For example, our mothers used to do a lot of things which improved our immunity without having to necessarily vaccinate us. So Where There Is No Doctor is a book that my dad one day used to save a patient when he was starting his career in clinical practice. So it does not only pick the part of medicine so much, it picks the part of medicine, and it also picks the part of practical concepts that you can use whenever you don't have a doctor. For example, it shows how you can relieve pain, how you can treat a wound by yourself, snake bites, when you should use an antibiotic, when you should not use an antibiotic. So Where There Is No Doctor is a book that I really feel like everyone should buy this copy and keep it at home. You never know when you need it. You never know, you can wake up at night and maybe your wife, your child is sick. You don't know what you can do, but if you have this book, you will know like if a child is having high fever, Where There Is No Doctor, I'll have to do this. So it has become one of my favorite books, and it has changed my concept between the Western medicine and our African medicine. That's why I believe so much that there is a small difference, because before Westerners came or before explorers came, our mothers or our great-grandmothers were doing cesarean section. Right now, the cesarean section is one of the most expensive procedures to do in Western medicine. But meanwhile, our mothers were doing it for free, and it was so convenient, it was not so expensive. So it's really a good book to try out, because all those concepts are here. A lot of hogwash, nonsense, and a lot of things that we should believe in. But this book actually is one of the recent books that talks about things which are recent and things which are not recent, which are actually things which we are doing right now. So it's called The Subtitle of Not Giving a Fuck: A Counter-Intuitive Approach to a Good Life by Mark Manson. So this book actually, the title is the opposite of the content inside. It gives you the concept of what things should you give a fuck about, and what things should you ignore, what things should you be concerned about, and things you should not actually give your mind. And it also trains you like to know when to give a fuck and to know when not to give a fuck, to know who to respect and to know who to disrespect, to know what point do you need to be humble and what point do you need to stop being humble. So the book actually is a very, very good book. When you read it page by page, you'll understand like in this world there are some things you really need to go slow when you're handling them, but there are some things that you really need to just ignore. You don't need to keep your mind on them, and at the end of the day, to help you have a good behavior life. So this was the last book that I would really recommend every reader to read. I've read other books. I've not talked about Take the Risk. I've not talked about Think Like an Entrepreneur, Act Like a CEO. This book teaches you to boss up. There are a lot of other books that I have not talked about. In case you want to read about them, maybe you can follow my social media handles. I'm Natrinda Emma on Facebook. I am Natrinda on Instagram, and I also use Twitter. You can check I am Natrinda on Twitter, so that we can keep this conversation going. If you have not subscribed and you're new on this channel, please like and subscribe, so that we can keep the content burning, we can keep the views coming, we can keep the subscribe and notifications button coming. Let's grow this channel together, because it's not easy to start a channel like this and get views and get all that, but with your help and with your support, you are going to make it to the best. Thank you.